Hello, welcome to Sunday afternoon. That's where we're at. That's what today is. And we're going to continue what I was doing yesterday, which is painting highlights into my sketchbook on my toned paper. This is about 20% gray toned paper, and I've done a lot of I did all the work with a series of mechanical pencils, such as these. This is just kind of a cheapo guy, and this one I imported from Japan. Although, according to this, it's just a Pintel Orange, but this is the very finest one that I could find. You can see it has this teeny tiny little sheath in there. And then the lead is 0.2. So I like to get in there and get super detailed. And then I'm using this paint to do the highlights. This is Winsor & Newton Artist Watercolor. Let me make myself a little smaller. So I have a little cup of water, a fairly fine paintbrush. This is I don't know the numbers of paintbrushes. You know, I look at them and I see how small the tip is, and I'm like, that looks about right. I'm a little bit concerned that the chat isn't working because I didn't close and reopen my browser from yesterday. So let me know in the chat if you can't chat, and I'll try to fix that. That's like when your internet's down and the instructions are to look for instructions on the internet. I think what it comes down to is if no one says anything anytime soon, I'll have to try refreshing the page or something. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and reboot this stream and see what happens. So if I go off for a while, that is why. Alright, this says I'm still live. Let me know if I'm still live. Fatih says that chat works when you refresh. Yep, that seems to be the case. I just wasn't sure if me refreshing would kill the stream or not. Hello Andy, hello Bitgreen, hello Akumo, Stefan G, Fatih, and Andy again. Double hello to Andy. How's it going, guys? Now you get to see me put all my years of obsessing over Sorayama robot, dinosaurs, and animals to use as I paint this overly stark horizon reflection on this metal staff. Anyone familiar with Sorayama, the Japanese illustrator? Does a lot of sexy robot ladies, but the stuff I really like that he does are robots and like dinosaurs and other kind of animals. He just does these crazy chrome, hyper shiny, like articulated in really interesting ways. Pretty sure he was the inspiration for like the Dinobots and those other Transformers that turn into animals. Hey Mortifer, thank you for letting me know that I'm alive. Sometimes I forget. I forgot how much I like this band. This is a friend of mine. I worked with him in Michigan and at a company called Outrage Entertainment. We worked mostly on Descent 3, but then we made a little game called Alter Echo that no one's ever heard of. We worked on a game for about 2 years that ended up getting canceled that I still want to go back to and make at some point. It still would be relevant and revolutionary. That was a bitter disappointment when that happened. But yeah, this was a designer slash music guy, and this is his band called... what is it called? I know the name of the album is Hydralisk Din. Oh, Sublimation. Sublimation. I don't know if they're still making stuff, but you should look into it. Fatih asks, are you using like a really thin brush with watercolor or acrylic? Yeah, I'm using a really thin brush, and this is Artist's Watercolor, Titanium White. Parentheses, opaque white. One of my problems when I do highlights like this is I tend to get really robotic about following very specific procedures or heuristics as far as, like, oh look, there would be a line of highlights here where it's reflecting the primary light source, and then I go in and I make sure there's a line there and a line there and a line there, and in reality, I don't know what sort of weird chaos theory goes on, but when you look at reference of metallic things, it's probably because of the complexity of actual light sources. Things don't end up that neat and orderly as far as where the highlights land. And without being able to refer to an actual, like, chrome or whatever, you know, super shiny object exactly like this, I'm just kind of guessing. I think people who paint metallic stuff have a lot better ability to kind of randomize where their highlights land in a realistic way. The fists on the end of these, or these claw things on the end of the staff are supposed to be snake claws, because in my world of Talifar, snakes have legs. Because that just makes them a little more interesting, a little more different. And you're probably thinking to yourself, a snake with legs? Why, Josh, that's just a lizard, right? And don't worry, I thought of that. I anticipated that. Here, I'll show you my snake design. I mean, they're pretty lizardy, but not totally lizardy. Let's see if I can find them. Ah, here we go. So yeah, they kind of have a clump of, there's 6-legged snakes and 8-legged snakes. And one of them is more poisonous than the other. I think the 6-legged snakes are the most poison. And so this is my configuration of legs, is they're kind of clumped at the front, and then they have a super long snake body trailing after that. But this particular artifact was created on Talifar and based on those snakes. Hi, Scorv. Yeah, awesome to have you twice in a row. Looks like weekends work out pretty well for you, huh? That's right, Scorv. Snakes did have legs in the past. They still have vestigial little stumps and stuff. Or, well, some of them do. I don't know the percentage. A lot of them still have little bone nubbins that grow in that same area. Hi, Jose. You're from Brazil. First time watching me live. Great. Great to have you. I love people from all over the world. That's super cool you're from Brazil. Someday I will go visit. What part of Brazil do you live in? I'm assuming deep Amazon, right? Scorvis saying, yes, much like humans have our tailbones. Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it's so cool seeing how things morph over time. Like, just the whole, like, bat wing thing being a super long fingers with webbing between them. You know, they have identical bones and stuff, and like horses' hooves are really just like people feet, just stretched and morphed in different ways. Fatih wonders whether the highlights look sharp or you blend it and give the highlighted spot a little shade. Yeah, it depends on how shiny I want it to look. The sharper it is, the shinier the object appears. And this is like a super technological memory metal that this stuff is made out of, so I'm kind of going... I mean, right now I'm thinking like the Terminator, was it the 1000? The one that morphs into shiny liquid? Thinking kind of like that. Very chromy. I'll probably change it if I actually see it in context with characters and stuff. It'll look not like I want, but this is version 1 that I'm doing, you know. It's concept work. Hi, Linda. I inspire you as a 75-year-old wannabe artist. Awesome. That is great. I was, just the other day I was looking at a chart of happiness by age rank, and it's kind of peaks in the like 18 to 20-year-old range, and then it just goes down, 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 down. And I think it like hits the nadir, I want to say around 50 or 55, which I think probably in the US, I'm assuming that's where these stats are from. In the US, that's probably where most people have their kids are teenagers. I can say from experience, I've had teenage kids. And yeah, then it starts going up again, and it peaks kind of in the 70s. So I hope you are having the time of your life, and I'm super glad that I'm inspiring you. I enjoy getting older, I gotta say. I'm probably looking forward to my 50s and 60s the most, but you know, I haven't been to the 70s yet, so I don't know how great that could be. Breknar says, reminds me of a certain scene from Requiem for a Dream. I really like Requiem for a Dream, and I cannot remember anything. Oh god, never mind, never mind. I'm just gonna pretend you didn't even say that, Breknar. Jose is saying that, of course, they live close to where Blanca lives. Blanca, I assume, from Street Fighter, right? Is he Brazilian? I didn't know that. The big green guy who can electrify his body? Yeah, he must be. Naturally, he's from the Amazon. That's where folks can electrify their bodies. Yeah, Bracknar. Don't ask, don't tell. That's gonna be our policy. I just, you know, Jennifer Connelly is like my favorite actress, and that's a pretty brutal movie for her. Very interesting premise, and making what's essentially a horror movie where the monster is drugs. I know I'm gonna have some kind of like interesting rune-ish designs on here, and normally I would sit down and like develop a whole alphabet and script and try to figure all that stuff out, but at some point I decided, mostly from pressure from my mom because she's the one who wrote the book and she's not getting any younger and she would love to actually have this out in the world, and if I hyper-developed every little detail of every little thing, it would literally never be done. So I decided, hey, you know what? This book is going to be the beta version, and I'm going to put it out there, and we'll get feedback from lots of people, and then kind of make improvements as we go. I've collaborated with a couple ocean scientists on a variety of things, and that's been super helpful. I mean, in general, they know a lot about chemistry and biology and sediments, just all sorts of things that drive the world building and make it more realistic. And so I'm hoping to get a lot more experts in various fields. In my dream scenario, I have a company where we're producing stories in this world, and I literally have an employee who's a marine biologist, I have an employee who's a geologist, I have an employee who's an evolutionary biologist, I have an employee who... I just have all these like experts on staff that are vetting all the stories that are coming in and being like, yeah, this would work, no, this wouldn't work, hey, if you tweak this a little bit, it'll work. Yeah, which is ridiculous. No one's ever done that before for obvious reasons, but it's my dream. Oh, Jan is asking, yes, you cannot unsee it. Correct. I can't unsee it now either. Thanks a lot, Bracknar. You know, this just happens sometimes. This happened, actually, I'll show you another thing this happened with. Here's the main character from the book that I'm illustrating. This is Beaumark, and he is... I struggled quite a while to get the perfect face that I wanted for him. And, you know, I was posting them on my various social media accounts saying, hey, give me feedback, blah, blah, blah. Ignore these weird things around the side. That's for molding and casting. But everyone kept thinking that he was a woman. And I went through probably 10 iterations before people said, okay, yeah, that looks more like a dude than a woman. And I'm looking at all the anatomical differences between skull shapes, like getting super deep into why does he keep reading this way? I mean, I know he's got long hair, but obviously that shouldn't be a thing. Anyway, so I got it to the point where I was super happy. I printed him out. I'm going to be making molds and casts. You know, he's going to be on the cover of the book, blah, blah, blah. And then on my final render that I was so proud of and showing to people, someone on one of the sculpting forums I'm on said, hey, that looks just like Julia Roberts. And I looked at it and I was like, oh God, now I can't unsee Julia Roberts every time I look at him. So yeah, the moral of the story is it's easy to ruin things for yourself if you pay attention to what people say, maybe. but paying attention to what people say is also very important to improving yourself. So You're gosh darned if you do, and you're gosh darned if you don't, I guess is what it comes down to. Okay, and then Jen was asking, what is it anyway? A scroll or something? This is the main kind of weapon artifact that Beaumark gets on his journey. I wanted something that would be high impact and low like gore, because I'm not a big fan of like slicing limbs off and disemboweling and stuff like that. I wanted my book to be a little more like it's realistic and grounded in tone, but I didn't want it like gory and gross. So this is a magical quote-unquote staff that is actually high technology, and he can press the button in the middle and it expands super long, and he can like shoot the little claws off on a rope, and so he can kind of shot hook himself around and stuff like that. That's what it is. I am Barry Ram says hello from Turkey. Hello! Awesome, Turkey. You have no idea how bad I want to go to Turkey and check out those cool villages and stuff that are carved into those crazy rock formations. So cool. So cool. Very inspirational. Are you close to those? Let's see. Shibboleth. Oh, I get it. Shibboleth. Very good. Did all these sketches from your imagination without reference? If that's a question, if you're asking, did I do these? The answer is it's always a combination of things. Like, I want to make something that's unique to my world. So, oh, there goes my camera. Gonna have to reset it. But the answer is both. So I do the initial research, like I'm doing a knife or a box or whatever, and I will look up knives and boxes and find the coolest looking ones and look at like what light looks like on them, how it refracts, the different kind of colors, and then find the ones that I think are coolest. I am working on finding a good camcorder so that I can hook to my computer. All the other camcorders I have won't hook directly to my computer, so right now I'm using my DSLR camera, and it likes to just randomly reset. And when it does that, I have to go through this annoying process of telling my capture system to go look at that camera again. Let's see if that worked. There we go. Okay. Fatih is from Turkey as well. Cool. Found a neighbor. Bracknar says, Beaumark looks like a handsome dude. Excellent. I'm glad you think so. I think so. I think he's awesome looking. I'm happy with how he turned out. But yeah, there is that little thing in the back of my mind now where I'm like, Julia Roberts. I mean, there's worse female celebrities to look like, but yeah, funny. Sorry, I'm getting a little hung up trying to figure out why why I cannot scroll up on the comments. So I may be missing some. Jose says they have long hair, and that alone is enough for some people to compare you with a woman. Yes, I have had long hair in the past, and I've been called ma'am plenty of times. Scorf says, just noticed you've been streaming for 29 minutes. Yeah, it looks like you were right about the 29 minutes and 29 second thing. They're apparently built to dodge taxes, so they don't compete with video cameras. They don't get taxed like a video camera would, which Why is a video camera taxed more than a regular camera? I don't know. But anyway. Fatih says, is this a good place to ask your advice about a sculpture you've been working on? Yeah, sure. See if you can paste a link to a picture, and I can probably pull it up. I am Braham says, actually there's not much people who are doing sculpting, so we can't learn much. Then I've learned English by myself. I've watched your all videos. Thank you. Sorry for my grammar mistakes. You know, for learning on your own, you're doing awfully good. I was able to follow that almost completely. You want to switch around all and your. So I've watched all your videos. Other than that, yeah, that made sense. Bracknar says, it seems your camera isn't aimed at what you're working on. Uh-oh. Let me see if I can diagnose the problem there. Well, everything I'm looking at looks right. Do you not see my paintbrush on the page right now? Yeah, a couple nights ago, my camera was just freezing up. Like, the feed from the camera to OBS, which is the program that does the streaming to YouTube, just decided to not work unless I had it actively open on the screen. So I'm trying to keep a lookout for that. Kaluna Dai. It looks like the camera may have been paused. Okay, yeah, that sounds like what was going on before. Let me try to keep the window up on my computer, which pretty much covers everything else. Okay, hopefully this will work now. Yeah, thanks so much for bearing with me through all these technical shenanigans that have been going on all week. Like I said yesterday, after every stream I have yet another thing I need to buy to try to fix the problem. I got a 60-foot long internet cable, so I can drag it all the way from my living room into the garage here and have a direct connection to the internet. And that definitely helped a lot of things. And what else did I get? Oh yeah, I got a powered USB thing to try to get my mic to work. That still never did, but I'm just using my old Snowball USB mic, and that seems to be alright. Yeah, now I'm going to have to get a new camera. Although I was planning on getting a new camera anyway, so... Mm-hmm. Alrighty. I think this guy's done enough. Time to move on to the ceremonial cape. Beaumark has to wear this cape after he is forced to kill his best friend in a ceremonial duel over hot lava, because it cemented his place as king, in theory. And so he's just obviously emotionally devastated. This was, you know, his friend was a kid he grew up with in the kid's house, and was pretty much brothers with. And the bad guy basically set it up so that he ended up having to duel him instead of the actual bad guy. And so after that duel, he's got to go back to the castle, you know, to the palace. It's not really a castle because it's an island nation, so they don't have giant buildings. But yeah, he's wearing this big, pompous, ceremonial cape, and I just wanted to counterpoint his emotional fragility and misery with this big, ostentatious, you know, almost ridiculous looking thing, to just make it as kind of brutal as possible, I guess you could say. This is, when I was designing this cape, I was really looking into the concept of cultural appropriation. And Boy, is that a big can of worms. I thought a lot about it, and I am very sympathetic to many of the issues that I think are very legitimate with the concept of cultural appropriation. But when I follow the logic to its natural conclusion, I kind of came to the conclusion that I, as a white dude in the U.S., could literally make stories about nothing but white dudes in the U.S., and that's just not my interest. So I think I kind of came to a compromise, which was listen to people that are adjacent to the material that you're taking elements from. I guess number one is don't just straight up take a cultural artifact like, you know, a Mayan statue or a a Japanese temple and like paste it into your world and say, there, look how exotic this culture is because it has this one thing that's from another culture. I think that's just bad design to begin with, but it is also pretty disrespectful to the cultures that comes from. And so, but it's not as simple as just taking a hodgepodge of elements from lots of different cultures and stitching those together either. I think that happens deep in an artist's subconscious, whether we want it to or not. Like everything we see and hear gets stored in some kind of little data bank, and when we're being quote-unquote creative, it's just our subconscious stitching that stuff together to some degree or another. But the conclusion I came to pretty much was be respectful, do your research, don't just accept the first idea that pops into your head because it's probably a biased, bigoted idea of, you know, like, oh, he's an islander, therefore he's going to have these attributes and dress this way and have these thoughts, and that's not a cool way to approach it. I think when you build it from the ground up and you think about the ecology that's there, you think about the biology that's there, you think about the geology, like all these factors are going to shape a culture, and if you build them from the ground up that way, I think you're less likely to run into this problem of just straight up taking bits and pieces from random cultures and throwing them together. Probably not the most articulate way to put it, but just kind of rambling right now. Okay, Jose is saying now it's working. Bracknar is saying a little late to the party. Is that acrylic paint you're applying? Is there a reason you have several blobs on your palette? So this is artist watercolor. It's opaque white. The reason there's several blobs is because it dries out pretty fast, and so I keep applying new blobs as I go. Would white ink or white acrylic work just the same? I haven't had as good luck with acrylic. It dries out even faster than the watercolor does, and it doesn't let me pull it around the page as well. And that might just have to do with the combination of the type of paper I'm using, the type of brush I'm using, I don't know, but this is the stuff that's worked best for me. Akumo, hey! He says, have to get up at 4 a.m., so good night, guys. Gonna leave the stream on my phone beside me until I fall asleep either way. Thank you, Akuma. Thanks for stopping by. Diane, says hi from the UK. Well, hello, Diane. Did you like that? I spoke in your language there. I'm sure you understood me like 10% better because I left the H off of hello. Now that's cultural appropriation for you. when I'm doing highlights on foliage or feathers and stuff like that, I really have to fight my urge to be really systematic and like put a dot of highlight on every single one, because they're all angled differently. Like all these little ruffled feathers are angled differently, and there's probably shadows from other feathers across them and stuff. So just kind of tentatively like choose one out of every 3 or 4 to add a little highlight to. And I try to make sure that that randomness isn't an even randomness, right? It's not like 1, 2, 3 highlight, 1, 2, 3 highlight, one. Like sometimes there's a clump with where they all have highlights, and sometimes there's a clump where none of them have highlights. And keeping that kind of variety is pretty important for it to read well. No. My physical CD is skipping. It's almost as though physical CDs are not the perfect medium that will last forever. Yeah, if I ever seem like I'm younger than my actual age, all you have to do to remind yourself how incredibly old I am, look at my CD collection and notice that I'm literally putting CDs into a CD player every time I listen to music. Bracknar is asking if I'm too young for a tape deck. No, actually, my car has a tape deck in it. And I do listen to tapes on a regular basis. I still have a bunch of teaching company tapes. The company that does like college courses on tape. So I've got a bunch of philosophy and history series that I'll just pop into my old tape deck from, 25, 30 years ago, whenever those tapes were made. DeAndre Thomas says, do you have a favorite art medium to work with? Probably my favorite just because I'm most comfortable with it, and yeah, it's probably just a comfort thing. I like Super Sculpey Firm. It's my favorite.
Yeah, is it black or gray? Black, right?
Although, what I really like doing is mixing Super Sculpey Firm with this stuff, Abe's Epoxy Sculpt. And I don't mean literally mixing the two materials together, but using the two on the same piece. Like, oh, we were just talking about Jennifer Connelly earlier. This piece right here, I did her face in Super Sculpey Firm, and all the hair was done with epoxy sculpt, because that stuff works really well for laying in a piece. You let that set, then you lay in another piece, you let that set, and you just keep going all the way down. More technical problems, Stefan? Is the camera frozen again for you, or what? DeAndre doesn't see anything wrong? Okay, good. Oh, the CD player skipping. Yeah. Yeah. So Pat was here on Wednesday night, I think, and he was horrified by the unorganized and cluttered state of my art studio. And one of the things he offered to help was to give me his old MP3 player that he said is big enough to probably hold my whole CD collection, and then I could just store my CDs. I'd have to rip them all. I probably have over half of them ripped already, but I'd have to rip them all and get them on there. Sounds like a big process, but then I could have everything very conveniently on a little block of silicone, which yeah, I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but there's these things called MP3 players. They're these amazing little technical boxes that you can stick music on. Sounds amazing. Alright, well, my camera is going to click off again in a minute or two, so I think I'm going to call it for today, and I'm going to look over the data from the streams that I've done all week, see which ones got the most people, and try to settle on once or twice a week to stream regularly, and I'll make that clear. I think you're able to set up events on your channel so that you guys can all see when I'm going to be streaming, and it won't just be surprise streams from now on. And yeah, so man, thank you guys so much for helping me out and bearing through all all the crazy technical stuff. I will be getting a new camera, and that should help a lot. Um, I'll answer the last couple questions here. I am Brian says, is dry clay good for, oh, air dry clay good for beginners? I don't think so. I think it's terrible for beginners, actually. Um, all the logistics dealing with storing it between when you're working on it, and then there's most of those have some amount of shrinkage, and the tools that you need are a little bit different. I highly recommend, the reason I did the Sculpey 101 series is because I think that's the best for beginners. That's the best stuff for beginners. DeAndre Thomas says, have you done any art with VR yet? Stuff like the tilt brush or medium? No, I haven't. I'm on a group where I see people doing it. I have a coworker who's done it. I'm just not super enthusiastic about VR until it's wireless and has a much higher resolution screen, I think. So I'm kind of waiting for version 2 of all those hardwares to come out, and then I'll probably look into it more deeply. Diane Soltis says, was just going to ask if you use epoxy. I'm thinking of trying it out myself. Yeah, it's great. I'm going to be doing a tutorial or two on epoxy sculpt, all epoxy clays, and so look forward to that. And yeah, so Karasu says, hey man. Andy says, this was a quick stream. Well, I'm at about 55 minutes. I think an hour is usually like that level at which some people will get through the whole thing. Honestly, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know if it's better to just stream for hours and hours and hours and people just drop in and out. I think that's kind of streaming culture, and that's fine, but then these also end up as videos, and some people might want to watch those. And so how many people would watch a 3-hour video of an old stream? I don't know. So I kind of feel like that hour is a sweet spot, but I don't know. I'm going to find out. Nothing wrong with MP3 players. That is true, Akumo. MP3 players are great, and I have a couple. I just have never gone through the process of actually getting all that stuff onto my computer because I literally have hundreds of CDs, and ripping, probably have ripped half of them, but ripping the rest sounds like a lot of work. DeAndre says, thank you for the stream. You're welcome. Thank you for stopping by. Bitgreen enjoyed the stream. Great. Stefan, you think what works best is a mix of both? You could be talking about both CDs and MP3s, or you could be talking about Super Sculpey and epoxy clay, or you could be talking about air dry clay and oil-based clay. But mixing things and experimenting in general is great, and I highly recommend it. Fatih says, thanks for the stream. You're welcome. Okay, I'm going to log off, and I'll catch you guys. I will put out a thing that says the next stream will be blah, and you will know next time. So, one last one. Orstes says, hello from Brighton, UK. 10 p.m.-ish. Good time to chill with you, Josh. Okay, good to know. It's around 10 p.m. in the old UK. That's good to know. Karasu says, when I do watch a long stream, replay it usually plays in the background, so a lot of talking and describing what you do helps. Okay, yeah, no, that's good to know. I tend to do that anyway. And Andy says, loves watching your streams. Sorry, chaos going on in the background. Love watching your streams, no matter the length. Talk to you later. Stefan, see you soon. Great, okay, thank you everyone, thank you so much. And I'll see you on the next stream and all the rest of my videos that I'm still working on. I think streams in general will be kind of previews of the tutorials that will be coming up, because that's usually what I'm working on. So, yeah, that's what you know. That's what I know, and now that's what you know. And I've rambled enough. I'm stopping right now.